Greetings. Hello. How is everyone today? This is Wahida Shabazz L. This is our third in the series of campaign development workshops. Hello, Camara. Glad to see you here. Glad to see you here, Helen and others. This is our third in the series of campaign development webinar trainings. This one is entitled Community Organizing, Choosing the Good Issue Campaign. And I'd like you all to kind of tell me in the chat box, how is the sound quality? Are you hearing me okay?
You're like separate from the internet connection. It's hard to know if it's ever if it's internet or any meeting.
Great. Okay, great. You all can hear me. I'm hearing somebody needs to mute their phone. I think it's Jenny. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I don't believe we have the background noise anymore.
She's not.
Okay, actually, we do have some typing. Who's ever typing, we can hear you. Can you please mute your phone? Thank you. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And again, just wanting to thank everyone for joining us today. This is our third in the series of Choosing a Good Issue campaign. If there's staff members on the call, would you please, guys, kind of help me figure out where that noise is coming from? I've just muted my own computer in case it's me. So just so you know, this webinar is being recorded, and it will be available to you all right after the webinar is done. There is a short 6-question survey we would like you to take right after the webinar. As soon as we close the webinar, it should take you right to the survey. Someone's asking me to speak a little louder. I can certainly do that. Make sure that you all hear me, that you are all hearing me. Great. So the overall goal for this training today is just simply to understand how to effectively choose an issue that is strategic and that builds power in your group, that builds your group's power. So just as a review, what is community organizing? Impacted groups drawing on their own collective power to defend a cause or to plea for a cause that matters to them. Having a strategy for long-term sustainable organizing does a couple of things. One thing it does is gives us more chances to win, having a long-term strategy. It gives you more opportunities to win, and it gives you more opportunities to challenge the power imbalances. So everything we do at PWN is about sustainability. It's about being strategic. It's about being in for the long haul. And so we do community organizing because we want to make effective change. We want to give ourselves more chances to win, and we want to make sure that we're changing the balance of power so that we become the experts. We're called in for consultation whenever there's a program, a project, or a policy being created for women living with HIV. Again, I want to say good morning, good afternoon to everyone who is joining us. You all look very beautiful in the chat box. I'm looking at you all there. So just to review, some of us are born with power. We know that. Others who might not have as much power need to come together to build collective power in order to make things happen. This is organizing, particularly when you add a time frame around it. So when we come together to build collective power in order to make things happen, this is what we call organizing. The slide we have in front of us now is very, very important. I remember when I first started doing this work, once I got to see this slide and understood that this is a spectrum, that I could go along the spectrum from anywhere from direct service organizing to direct action, things became a lot clearer to me. So I wanted to share it with you all in hopes it would make things make more sense to you about there are different forms of community organizing. Some organizing accepts the existing power as it is. As you move along the spectrum, you'll see that at some point you start to challenge the existing power, the power balances. Right? So let's start with direct service organizing. Direct service is just what it says. You go to a place, you get a direct service. You take a prescription to the pharmacy, you get medication, direct service. There is no hassle about who's in power. We accept the power as it is. You go to a doctor's visit, you see your doctor, you get the care you need. That's a direct service. You go to get tested for HIV, the test is administered, you get your results. That's a direct service. We are not challenging existing power when we're talking about direct services. Direct service can be an organizing tool as well, particularly if you have direct services with a mission statement around advocacy. And that direct service would probably allow you to use their space, to have trainings at their space. They may have support groups that they're set up there. They may have other educational groups that are set up. But the idea is that they have a way of getting people in. They have a facilitated process. They have a time for you to return. So that is direct service organizing. And then as we move on, and if anyone has any questions at any time, please feel free to put them in the chat box. We have staff who are on the call. Jenny, our communications director, is on the call, and also our legal fellow, Anita Rogers, is also on the call. Our reproductive justice legal fellow is also on the call and will be helping with the chat box. So the next form of community organizing we're going to talk about is self-help organizing. That sort of speaks for itself, but to give you a couple of examples, some of you have done this. If you're starting your own support group, that's self-help organizing. If you're organizing around some central service in your community, whether it's food, it could be your food co-op, self-help organizing. Some older people do organizing around their medications. They order medications in bulk. Self-help organizing. So, and that is a form of community organizing. A lot of times when I show this slide, I ask people, can you raise your hand if you've ever done any community organizing? And for the most part, people do not raise their hands. But then as we go through this exercise, people begin to raise their hands. So we have direct service organizing. You get a direct service. Self-help organizing. You're organizing yourselves around an area of concern that's in your community. Educational organizing. That's more around research. Someone has to do the research to let us know where to get the food from the food co-op if you're doing self-help organizing. Someone has to teach us where to get the medication. If we're buying our medication in bulk, that happens. So we're talking about educational organizing or researching an area of concern. And then we're moving along this continuum, and we're moving toward, now we're going to move toward advocacy. And advocacy, as we all know, is pleading or fighting on behalf of something that matters to you or something that matters to your community. The person who are impacted by the problem may not even be present. You may be advocating on behalf of someone else. So that's also important to know. Public interest organizing, PW in Colorado has been doing a lot of this lately. That's when you're actually getting the opportunity to rewrite some form of legislation. You're rewriting or you're offering some suggested language or non-stigmatizing language or updating the language in a bill or in a policy or in a program. So public interest organizing is very important because you get to use updated language that resonates with the people who are most impacted by the problem. So public interest organizing is also an important aspect, an important aspect of community organizing. And then when you get to direct action organizing, that is people who are impacted by a specific problem. They come together, they meet, they identify that problem, then they identify the solution to the problem, then they identify the person who has the power to change things, who has the power to give them what they want, and they keep pressure on that person. That is direct action organizing. In direct action organizing, you will see many different tactics. Some of those tactics may actually be staging a protest, but it could be anything from faxing this person all day, calling this person, having sign-on letters. There are many, many tactics to direct action organizing. What I want you to notice is that when we talk about challenging existing power, when we start doing advocacy, public interest organizing, and direct action organizing, we're beginning to challenge the existing power. We want to be seen as the experts. We want to be consulted in as the experts. We are women living with HIV, and when it comes to programs, policies, or projects concerning women living with HIV, we are the experts, and nothing about us without us, and meaningful involvement of people living with HIV all comes into play when we're talking about advocacy, public interest organizing, and direct action organizing. Again, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat box. We'll be happy to stop and see if we can get your questions answered. So there are three core principles of community organizing, which means three things need to happen while you're organizing around a particular issue. It needs to bring about real improvements in people's lives. People need to be able to feel it. Sometimes you can feel when things are better. So it needs to bring about real improvement in people's lives. It needs to alter the relations of power, which means you're being consulted. You're being asked to be on the panel. When there's a program being started, you're asked to be a part of the planning committee, and it needs to give people a sense of their own power. So there's three core principles of community organizing: real improvements in people's lives, giving people a sense of their own power, and altering the relations of power. And we have to do this because power conceives nothing without a demand. I was doing a training at a class in Philadelphia recently, and someone said, why don't they just give it to us? They know that we need it. And my question was, well, who is they? Who are you preferring to as they? And he said, them, the people in power. And that was my response to him. Power conceives nothing without a demand. Frederick Douglass said it never did, and it never will. So when we campaign, when we organize, when we speak out, it's about changing systems and institutions. It's about making things better for everyone, not just one person, because change comes about by fixing broken systems. Being on the outside looking in, it's easy for me to see when something needs to be changed. But again, we have to speak truth to power, and power conceives nothing without a demand. So we have to organize ourselves not just around what the problem is, But we have to organize ourselves around what the solution is that we agree upon that's going to work for us as a community. And that's all about community organizing. So I'm going to talk a little bit about problems versus issues. Because oftentimes we are identifying a problem as an issue and an issue as a problem. So to be clear, a problem is an area of concern. An issue is a solution to the problem. If we're going to our decision makers and we're presenting them with our problem and saying to them, and that is the issue, and then we wonder why nothing happens because we've only given them the problem. Example, HIV criminalization laws, that's a problem. I'm sure we all agree. It increases stigma. This is why it's a problem. It hinders HIV prevention efforts. It contradicts public health messages and is not based on current understandings of HIV transmission. Those are problems. Those are areas of concern. Here's the issue. The issue is the solution or part of the solution to the problem. So here's the issue. Uphold human rights for all. Support Senate Bill 1790. Ensure human rights are upheld when prosecutions occur. Eliminate HIV exposure and transmission laws. Alleviate barriers to HIV disclosure. Engage the community in reviewing HIV laws and their enforcement. These are issues. Issues are recommendations. Issues are demands. Issues are the solution to the problems that we want. So as we develop our campaigns, let us make certain that we caucus together, that we've met together, that we've hammered it out, and that we go in identifying the problem, how it impacts our community, and also identify the issue, which is what we're asking that person to do for us. Here's an example of another problem. The National HIV/AIDS Strategy does not explicitly commit to any outcomes for the trans community. That's a problem. That's a real problem. We have a national AIDS strategy that doesn't explicitly commit to any of these outcomes for the trans community, Here's the issue. This is what we want. The issue is what we want. It's what we recommend. It's our demand. We demand ONAP, the Office of National AIDS Policy, release an amendment to the strategy with an indicator for trans women. So before we go any further, before we go into the actual exercise for how we choose a good issue-based campaign, we want to make sure that everyone understands the difference between a problem and an issue. A problem is an area of concern and how it impacts your community. An issue is what you want, what you need to fix it. So much is broken. So much is broken. What a mess. How do you, as a group, thank you, Kamari. Kamari's given me so much. He's given me so much love over here in the chat box. Thank you. I need it. Thank you so much. There's so much to be fixed. How do we as a group decide what we're going to work on? You know, some people say we use Robert's Rules of Order. And I hope you all are still hearing me. I did something to my phone. Can someone please let me know if you're still hearing me? Just somebody put something in the chat box. Great, thank you. Okay, so much is broken. How do we figure out as a group what we can work on as a group? Using Robert's Rules of Order. Thank you so much. Using Robert's Rules of Order doesn't always bring the entire group together to work on a particular problem. It only brings part of the group together, and that's the part those ones who voted for that particular problem to be worked on. So what we have next, I think we're going to introduce you to our choosing a good issue checklist. Now here are 16 different criteria for choosing a good issue, campaign checklist. And your campaign doesn't have to have all of these, but it needs to have many of these. We're going to go through these one by one. Then we're going to introduce you to an exercise you can do within your regional groups using this checklist to decide what your group wants to work on. Not what one person in the group wants to work on, but what the group decides through this process to work on. So one of the, let me just go back just for a second. And I'm going to go down. First of all, it has to result in real and worthwhile improvements to people's lives. That's one of the 3 principles of community organizing. It has to give people a sense of their own power. Second principle of community organizing. It has to alter the relations of power. Third principle of community organizing. It has to be winnable. It has to be widely felt. It has to be deeply felt. It has to be easy to understand. It has to have a clear target. You have to have a clear time frame that works for you. It has to be non-divisive. It must build leadership. It must set your organization up for the next campaign. It must build sustainability of your organization or of your project. It must be consistent with your values and your vision. Your group needs to win the issue, and it must not require your group to become a permanent service provider. So this is the checklist for choosing an issue, and we'll just go a little deeper into each one. So clear values and principles are important. When we talk about vision and values, PWN's vision is that we envision a world where women living with HIV will live long, healthy, productive lives, free from stigma and discrimination. That's our vision. Our values, we have a dozen values that help us work toward that vision. So you want to have clear values, and principles are important. The issues that we choose to work on must reflect our values and our vision for that improved society that we want to see. And we can also show that bad HIV policies fit into a larger context, generally reflecting racism, sexism, transphobia, homophobia, beliefs that need to be changed. Next value, the issue that we choose, the issue-based campaign that we choose must be widely felt. That means many people must feel this is a real problem, and we must agree on a solution. It's not enough that a few people feel strongly about it. Widely felt means a lot of people care a little bit about the issue. And that's important, that you have a lot of people that care a little bit about the issue, okay? So the issue must also be deeply felt. So people must not only agree, but they must feel strongly enough to do something about it. This is oftentimes not a lot of folks. Sometimes it's a few people. So it's not enough that many people agree about the issue if some don't feel strong enough, don't feel deeply enough about it to do something about it. So deeply felt means a few people care a lot about it. It needs to be easy to understand. It's best to have an issue-based campaign that's visible and that you don't have to convince people that the problem exists and your solution is a good one. In general, having a short and clear explanation of the problem will help, even if it's complex or difficult. So you should be able to explain your issue in 30 seconds or less. Why are you out here? What is it that you want? You should be able to explain that in less than 30 seconds. Some of us call it an elevator pitch. By the time you get from the first floor to the sixth floor, you should be able to explain it. So it should be easy to understand. The campaign should have a clear target, and that target has to be a person, the person who can give you what you want. If you can't figure out who this is, this may not be a good issue campaign for you. There's so much red tape and there's so much bureaucracy. Sometimes for some problems, it's hard to get to the person who has the power to give you what you want. Because targets are not institutions, they're not groups, City Hall, for example, is a building. It's not a target. There's a person that's inside of City Hall that we must identify. So targets are always people. There's a person who has the power to make a decision that you might make. So we're just going through this checklist for choosing a good issue-based campaign, and I'm going to continue and say it must be winnable. The issue might not be so large. The issue shouldn't be so large that your organization is overwhelmed. Members must be able to see from the start that there's a good chance of winning. Sometimes you need to form a coalition to win, or you have to join an existing effort if it's too big to win on your own. And coalition building is something that we'll discuss, I believe, on our next webinar. But for now, just understand that the issue that you choose, the recommendation, the demand, the issue, what you want, the issue-based campaign, it needs to look winnable. The members of your organization need to be able to feel that they have a good chance of winning. And if it's too big, it's okay to collaborate with others who are already doing that work. You need your group to win. Your constituency should have something to clearly contribute to this issue-based campaign, right? You all should be filling a gap. So it needs to be your win, not the lawyer's win, not the law project. It needs to be that your group actually won this campaign. And the issue that you pick should not require your group to become a permanent service provider. This is a tactic from the other side. They may use this to avoid taking on your recommendations seriously or giving you what you're asking for. They will try to put your group to work, providing services. They'll ask you to make videos. They'll ask you to do a lot of stuff, have you jumping through hoops. So remember, you're an advocacy group, not a direct service agency, right? The advocacy is about changing systems and institutions so we fix the problem at its source. So it's important that you be aware that that is a tactic on the other side, that they will try to put you to work and have you doing everything except advocating for your cause. The campaign you select needs to be non-divisive. Avoid issues that divide your memberships or that divide your constituency. For example, we need HIV prevention for prisons so they won't bring back AIDS to the community. That's divisive in itself. We should lock up HIV-positive Christmas users so they don't infect others. That's divisive. It's judgmental. We're not judging, right? What we're doing is we're identifying a problem in our community. We're coming together as a community. We're strategizing, and we're coming up with some agreement, some solutions, some issues that we all agree will fix this problem. We're taking those recommendations to our target. It's the person who has the power to give us what we want. And time has to be a factor. The issue campaign has a beginning, a middle, and an end. You should have an idea approximately where those points will be. So a good question to ask is, can we work on this issue for a year or more so people can get to know the issue and build skills around leadership while still having short-term goals and victories along the way? So there needs to be a time frame. If you're going to start a campaign, let's say, well, let's work on this campaign for a year and see where we are. But throughout that year, you're building leadership. You're recruiting more people to come on and support your campaign. You're doing fundraising, right? And you also want to make sure that with the time frame that you're going to be working around elections, and working around holidays. And sometimes you can hook in an election to your campaign, or there may be certain holidays you can hook in. So again, the results, right? Results are real and worthwhile improvements in people's lives. If you can see and feel the improvement, then you can be sure it's actually been won. So your group must agree together on what an improvement means and whose lives will be affected. Members should feel that they are fighting for something they feel good about, something that's worth the effort. People should want to become members of the group to work on it along with you. And whatever campaign you select, it has to build leadership. Your campaign should have many roles that people can play, that there's committees, that there's point people, that you build leadership. Examples, how will your campaign help build leadership for women living with HIV? How about younger women? How about trans women, people of color, people with less formal education, right? People who may have less formal education may be able to be at the registration table. They may be able to help make signs. They may have artistic abilities. You have to find a way to build leadership and make sure there's a place for everybody in your campaign. And people power. Your members should come away from the campaign feeling that the victory was won by them. This builds both the cohesion and loyalty and the confidence to take on even bigger issues, right? And this requires involving your constituency, your membership, from the start to the finish. So everybody's involved in the campaign. This campaign doesn't belong to one person, and everybody else has to figure out what's in this person's head, right? Because the next time we talk, we'll be actually putting a campaign onto what we call a strategy chart to sort of show you how you can visualize your campaign. Every time you have a meeting, you'll pull up the strategy chart and make changes to the chart. So it'll be a living document. But you have to have people power. People have to know that the victory was won by them. And you have to build sustainability for your project or your organization, right? So how does this campaign lead to long-term stability? How do you get funding for it? How do you get allies to join you? How do you keep a membership base? So the campaign that you choose has to be one that's going to build sustainability for your organization. And it has to alter the power relations, right? As you demonstrate a new base of power, you can affect how important decisions are made. Right? This can help your community and your allies have long-term impact on issues that affect their lives. So it's going to be really important that you're going to alter the relations of power, which means your membership becomes more powerful than your opponent, and your opponents become less powerful. They need to call on you. They need to call you in. And so what we have here is this is called our checklist for choosing a good issue. If you're going to do this exercise in your region, it's going to take three pieces of butcher paper, because you're going to at least have three concerns that you're going to talk about. You're going to have somebody talk up each one. So I'm just putting here ending HIV criminalization. These are PW. This comes right from our PWN six policy priority areas: ending HIV criminalization, achieving women-centered care, achieving economic justice. So each one of these will be on a separate piece of, we call it butcher paper, or the big paper. Somebody can help me out. I can't think of it now, but the flip chart. You can have 3 pieces of paper on the wall. You're going to have someone, the facilitator, is going to be asking these questions on the right-hand side. Is this issue going to be widely felt? Will it be deeply felt? Will it result in improvements in people's lives? Will it give members a sense of power? Is it really going to be winnable? Is it easy to understand? Can you explain it to somebody? Does it have a clear target? What's going to be the timeline? These are going to be the questions the facilitator asks. But the participants who are actually going to be working on this campaign will have some colored dots. And every time the facilitator asks one of these questions, will this campaign build leadership? So they will go, and for each question, since we're talking about 3 different issues here, they could only vote twice. They could vote twice for one issue. They could put both of their dots on ending HIV criminalization, or they could put both their dots on economic justice. But you only get to vote twice if you have 3 different issues. So you can put both your dots on one issue, or you could put one on economic justice, the other on women-centered care. And the facilitator will go down the list. After the facilitator reads all of the 16 criteria, what you'll see next is the results, and this is what it will look like. So criminalization, support, now we get more specific, support Senate House Bill 1790, right? And what you'll see is that 16 people voted for this one. Preventing justice or women-centered care, having greater access to female condoms. We had 21 people who voted for that. And, or not 21 people, we have 21 votes for that, not 21 people. Economic justice, to be banned the box on job applications that ask about felonies. That would give people an opportunity to get jobs, and that would create economic justice. And so in this exercise, we had 9 votes for that. So it clearly shows that the group prefers to work on getting greater access to female condoms. So the one in the middle would be, so preventing justice of women, ushering in women-centered care would be what the group chooses to work on. So as you choose your checklist, as you use your checklist for choosing a good issue-based campaign, it will emerge from out of the exercise what the group wants to work on. So it doesn't become one person's campaign that nobody wants to work on. It becomes a group. It was a group decision. It becomes a group's campaign. It wasn't Robert's Rules of Order. It was a process, checklist for choosing a good issue. And so now you come up, and so now you have a campaign issue. You want to work on women-centered care, and what you're asking for is greater access to SB2, female condoms. I'm going to keep going. I don't see anything in the chat box, so I'm going to keep going. And if you have questions, please do go to the chat box, and we'll open up. I think we could probably open the lines up shortly. So I'm going to show you just a few examples of some research strategies and campaigns, so you just know that campaigns can be won. And this is something that happened local in Philadelphia. It's a group called RAGE, Riders Against Gender Exclusion. So in 1980 in Philadelphia, the public transportation system decided they would put gender stickers on the metro passes. We call them trans passes here in Philadelphia. And they started doing this in the 1980s. They wanted to prevent, quote-unquote, heterosexual couples from sharing the same path. However, over a long time, it made travel difficulty for those whose gender expression didn't match the gender marker that was on the tag. So the bus drivers would actually stop a person getting on the bus if they didn't look feminine enough, and they had a pass with an F on it. And this would, make the person unsafe, make them vulnerable, and just calling this particular person out, and it was just unacceptable. This has been going on for many, many years. So after RAGE came together, it took them 3 years of a grassroots campaign against SEPTA, the Southeastern Pennsylvania Transit Authority, that they would stop using gender stickers on all their transit passes. They had monthly passes. They also had weekly passes. So RAGE collected thousands of signatures. They met with the SEPTA general manager. And even though he initially agreed to remove the stickers, he didn't remove them. So they would have protest actions outside of his office. They had drag shows outside of his office. They began collecting stories about discrimination and putting them on the website. And so finally, after 3 years, RAGE won. They won, and they continue to do good work in the community. I don't know that they wanted to work on this for 3 years, but it's pretty much what it took for 3 years. So the next campaign I want to talk about is called Civil Society Monitoring. Civil society, that's us. We're non-governmental. Civil society is the process by which non-governmental entities monitor government progress toward achieving goals, right? Civil society monitoring of laws and policies is important. It's an important aspect of the human rights principles of accountability and participation. So it can involve impacted communities, community advocates, coalitions, or advocacy groups such as CWN, 30 for 30, Sister Love. And what we actually did in 2015 was we civil society monitored the National AIDS Strategy, the one that came out in 2010. So gender monitoring is to ensure that existing laws or that new laws and policies meet the needs of women and do not discriminate against women and transgender people. So our strategy was to create a report card to articulate our concerns and to mobilize the community. And this is what our report card looked like. This is our gender monitoring report card for the National AIDS Strategy that came out in 2010. And we graded it on law and policy. We graded it on data collection and risk assessment. We graded it on meaningful involvement of people, women living with HIV. And we graded it on women-centered service delivery. And you see the lowest score was a C. And like I said, this was PWN. This was 30 for 30. This was Sister Love. This was many women's groups across the country that put this together and sent it to the Office of National AIDS Policy, whose job was to create and put out this national AIDS strategy. And we were not happy with the strategy in 2010. We kept pressure on. A new strategy came out that came out last year. This came out last year in Atlanta, Georgia, and they released the National HIV Strategy updated to 2020 because it's a 5-year plan, and PWN USA saluted the progress because it identified opportunities for women in a new National HIV/AIDS strategy. It wasn't we didn't have a large number, but they said they wanted to reduce HIV amongst women by 20%, but it was there. It was there, and it was there because we advocated and we did community organizing around it. That's why it was there. Had we not advocated, it would not have been there. I always say, be at the table. If it's not at the table, then you're on the menu. So we had to make sure. We have Gina Brown sitting here. She's a member of the President's Advisory Council for HIV and AIDS. And so we made sure that we had members. We supported our members to be on that committee to be able to have a voice at that high level in our government. And then here's another one, the Positive to Trans community met at the White House. And they're asking for inclusion of leadership of the trans community and HIV policy. Like I was saying earlier about the problem, the current National HIV Strategy has no markers to reduce HIV amongst the trans community. So this is Tiami Luckett, and Tommy is saying going to the White House was truly something I never had on my radar to do for personal reasons. However, that was years ago, and I felt that way. So let's fast forward, and I was invited to participate in a roundtable discussion with members of the Office of National AIDS Policy. PERSA was there, the CDC was there, and representatives from other agencies alongside several phenomenal trans women and trans men who are recognized as leaders. Okay. So, and this is the same group that PWN did, we have a partnership now with the Transgender Law Center, and we've been doing community organizing training to these groups of women and men who want to move forward and have themselves counted in and have themselves made a priority and be recognized and have leadership when it comes to creating programs, laws, and programs or projects that affect their community. You're welcome, Tiana. Tiana says thank you. You're very welcome. And so just to, I think this is my last slide, and just to close this up, I just want to remind you that advocacy is a responsibility of everyone who lives in a democracy. To engage policymakers, we have a responsibility to engage policymakers. When you live in a democracy, you have a responsibility to engage the media. We have a responsibility to engage other citizens in well-structured discussions about issues that impact the public, that impact our lives. And Dr. Martin Luther King said it best when he said, our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. And that is my last slide. I want to thank you all very much. I'm going to let that sit here. And if anyone has any questions, any comments, I'm not sure how to open the phones up, but Jenny and Arnita, I gave you a presenter a lot to win as presenters. So let's figure out if we can open the lines. I think if you unmute yourselves, you should be able to talk if anybody needs to say anything. We have about 10 minutes left.
All attendees are muted and may unmute themselves by pressing *6.
You can unmute your phone by hitting *6. Kamaria is asking if it's too early to know if this will be presented at HIV is Not a Crime Training Academy. I'm just going to say just a tad too early, but we would certainly take it into account that it was asked for. PWN is we're partnering with Zero for this, and we are hoping that you all will put in abstracts and proposals for workshops. But I'm sure that PWN, I'm sure we will be doing a couple of workshops at the Training Academy for HIV is Not a Crime, but I don't know that we've talked about this kind of content yet. I will certainly mention it in our staff meeting, and we'll let you know what happens. But thank you so much.
Hello, good day. This is Reverend Antoinetta. Will I be able to get a copy of this? Hi, everybody. Much love, much love. Hope everybody's safe.
That is from PW in New York. The answer is you sure will get a copy. You'll be able to. I will send you all. Everyone on this call will get a PDF copy. It will also be on our website.
Yes.
Under resources.
Okay.
Link. You can listen to it again, but you can certainly make copies. I will make sure everybody gets a copy. Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Wonderful job. Wonderful job.
Thank you so much. Anyone else have any questions? You can unmute yourself by hitting *6. Any comments? If you're talking, we can't hear you. Okay.
Hello?
Hi.
Hello?
Hi.
Oh, hi. This is Lauren. Hi. I was just wondering if there's a way that I can get these slides so that I can print them out, because sometimes when we have our regional meetings, they're not always at a place that's Wi-Fi accessible. So even if I bring, even if I bring my computer, I can't, everybody can't necessarily see them. And I think this is just enough complicated that it's better to have it in front of you when we're trying to have the discussion.
Absolutely. Lauren, this is Lauren, correct? This is Lauren?
Yeah.
Yes, Lauren.
Yes, it is.
That's absolutely.
Yeah.
As soon as we're done, we will PDF and send everybody that's on this call will get the slides right away. They will also be posted on our website. Jenny will also make sure that these slides are available on our website on the PDF as well. But the answer is absolutely yes.
Okay.
We want you to continue to take this information. We want you to use it. We want you to use it in the region, and share it with everybody. Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. We have time for one more question, and then I'll go ahead and end the meeting so you all can do the survey that will come right after the meeting. It's only 6 questions, and we appreciate hearing back from you to let us know how we're doing. Good luck, Barb, in Colorado, with having your second hearing to modernize HIV, to modernize and reform HIV criminalization. I know it took a lot out of you girls last week, but I'm glad to hear you still let it. Keep pushing. Congratulations, PW in Colorado. Yes. Are there any other questions? about how to choose a good issue-based campaign. Okay, so hearing none, we're going to thank everybody for coming from the Virgin Islands all the way to Washington State. And we want to thank everybody for joining us this afternoon. I'm going to go ahead and end the webinar. And once I end the webinar, you're in front of your computers. I'm not sure if it'll come up on your phone, but we'll also send you an opportunity to, we'll send you the slides and we'll send you a link to make sure you get a chance to do the survey. It's really important. Yes, we will be using these slides in our chapter meetings, Anita. Absolutely. Absolutely. So thank you, everyone. On behalf of PWN USA, we'd like to thank everybody for joining us. Have a wonderful day, and don't forget to do a survey. So we're going to end this webinar now. Thank you so much, and we'll be talking to you really soon.